Are you ready? I'm ready to hit it.
Oh, phone. Good idea. Turn the phone off. Yeah, I like that idea. This is going to make it so much better performance if I don't have the president calling me interfering what we're trying to do this time. All right, everybody's here. We're here to have a good time. Praise the Lord. I've come to a place of mercy. I've come to release my fear and pain. I've come to a place of joy and mercy. I will receive it and pass it on. Help us sing. I've come to a place of mercy. I've come to release my fear and pain. I've come to a place of joy and mercy. I will receive it and pass it on again. It's clear you think that you're not worthy. You lost your way too many times. Someone like you can't be forgiven. You think you clearly read the sign. I've come to a place of mercy. I've come to release my fear and pain. I've come to a place of joy and mercy. I will receive it and pass it on again. I can see your misperception. You can free yourself of sin. Just step inside this place of mercy. You'll be whole and free and full of joy again. I've come to a place of mercy. I've come to release my fear and pain. I've come to a place of joy and mercy. I will receive it and pass it on. One more time. I've come to a place of mercy. I've come to release my fear and pain. I've come to a place of joy and mercy. I will receive it and pass it on again. Last line. I will receive it and pass it on again.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Stephanie. It is my pleasure to welcome you here this morning, all of those of you who are here in our sanctuary and those of you who are joining us live stream. We appreciate you being with us. We've got a beautiful day, blue skies, so you know there was dancing. And yes, there is dancing when there is not blue skies, but there's always dancing when there are blue skies. I want to thank our musical team today because they're wonderful. We've got a special treat because we've got Michael with us today, who we just love. And Bobby and Chris always doing wonderful things. We appreciate you guys so much and just lifting our spirits with that great music. I just always wanted to, do a little dance while you guys are through it. We also are very pleased that Mindy and Evin have been with us. Evin did his first... I don't want to call it a talk because it was so much more than that. But he did present for the first time last week, and I'm very happy to say they came back. They're still here. And so we are very happy to welcome them today. Evin is our speaker today. He's going to be talking to us about keeping it real. And so we're going to do that today. We're going to keep it real. And we also want to thank our media team because without them, those of us who are at home and they would not be able to join us, and we love that you are joining us. So Byron and Wayne, thank you so much for everything you do. You guys are just amazing. And now I invite you to join me in our opening prayer. Sweet Spirit, we open our hearts to receive you. We greet this day centered in God and in the knowledge that we are all one in the Spirit of the Christ. Let us reside in this consciousness so that we may each become an individual expression of the love of God. We envision sending forth this love out to our world, seeing love extending out to our Unity community, to the city of Spokane, and out across the globe. We honor all those who worship on this day, no matter what religion, for we know that there are many paths to God, but there is only one God. In the warm and loving spirit of unity, we say thank you and amen. And now I invite you to take a supportive position, whether you're sitting or laying on the floor, whatever you choose to do, as we prepare for meditation.
I am, I am, I am, I am. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment I'm free. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment I see peace in my heart, peace in my world, peace all around, peace radiates from me. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment I'm free. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment I see love in my heart, love in my world, love all around, love radiates from me. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment I'm free. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment is where I belong. In this moment I see I am, I am, I am, I am.
So I invite you to now just gently close your eyes and just settle in with this during this time of meditation. Just allow your feet to root to Mother Earth and allow the chair to support you, or the floor if you're lying on the floor, perhaps here in the sanctuary or at home. Just begin to relax. Just letting your breath flow just in through the nose and out through the mouth, just gently allowing it to flow naturally. No force, just letting it flow on its own. I invite you to go inward with me this morning. Turn inward as we meditate on healing. And in this meditation, we begin by affirming silently to ourselves, I am one with the healing power of God. I am one with the healing power of God. as we allow ourselves to be open to this affirmation and to this healing, we know that healing is the outward expression of my interconnection with God, with the God within. And as I quiet my mind and I open my heart, I affirm my oneness with the power of healing within. And I open myself and I allow vitality. I allow vitality and I allow life of the God within to awaken within every cell, energizing my body. Allowing myself to feel and to go with the flow of the healing energy that moves through my body, that healing energy that comes from the God within. And I shift my attention to emotions and feelings such as joy and peace and love. Allowing myself to be open to receiving these things into my life. Joy, peace, and love. Further opening my mind to dwell on active, positive thoughts of hope and of health. Inviting the life of spirit to flow into my mind and into my body. And in just a moment, we're going to enter into a moment of silence. And while we're in that moment of silence, I invite you to visualize. To visualize the life of spirit flowing into your mind and your body. Or maybe you're a person that doesn't visualize so much as feel. Allow yourself to feel that flow of spirit into your mind and into your body as we enter into our moment of silence together. And as you begin to bring your attention and your awareness back to this room and back to this time and this place, we acknowledge that the light of the God within now shines forth within every atom and every cell of our bodies, surrounding us and filling us with dynamic, restorative energy. And we affirm that we are harmonized and healed. Once again affirming, I am one with the healing power of God. I am one with the healing power of God. And so I allow that to be. Namaste.
Sometimes the beds of plants need a helping hand. If you need it, look this way. Here I am. Sometimes the things you do need someone to help you through. Look around. Look this way, here I am. You can try your best to love, to bring the things you need on home. But the burden's easier to bear when a friend can help you. So just know I respect your strength, but we'll go to any length. If you want help, look this way, here I am. No judgment, no restrictions, just a friend's conviction to help. Look this way, here I am. The things that brought us together, trust, sharing each other, mutual understanding can make a softer Sometimes the best of plans need a helping hand. If you need it, look this way, here I am. Whoa, whoa, if you need it, look this way, here I am. If you need it, look this way, here I am.
Thank you. That was fantastic, as always. And let us share in our church decree together. Beloved Mother, Father, God, we open our hearts to be filled with divine love and our minds to be filled with divine light. Divine love and divine light now move through our center, guiding and protecting us, our families, friends, and neighbors. Divine love and divine light have drawn to us the perfect leader to guide this ministry into the future. We look forward with anticipation to welcoming new people, situations, opportunities, and activities that bless and are in harmony with the truth and love. Together, we are touching hearts and transforming lives. Amen. And let us recognize the Christ in all world leaders and affirm our decree for all people. Together, the light and love of God compels us, our leaders, and all human beings to do the right thing and to love and care for Mother Earth. And at this time, I would like to invite you all to stand, pause in silence, and acknowledge the divine in each other. Thank you, and be seated.
It's not that unusual when everything is beautiful. Just another ordinary miracle today. The sky knows when it's time to snow. Don't need to teach a seed to grow. Just another ordinary miracle today. Life is like a gift, they say, wrapped up for you every day. Open up and find a way to give some of your own. Isn't it remarkable? Like every time a raindrop falls, just another ordinary miracle today. Birds are meant to have their fling, to always make it home by spring. Just another ordinary miracle today. When you wake up every day, please don't throw your dreams away. Hold them close to your heart. We are all a part of me. Ordinary miracle. Do you want to see the miracle? It seems so exceptional that things just work out after all. Just another ordinary miracle today. Sun comes up and shines so bright and disappears again at night. Just another ordinary miracle today. Just another ordinary miracle today.
For the music to Bobby, Michael, and Chris. Y'all make my Sunday a little bit better. So I'm Reverend Evin Wilkins, and I want to welcome everybody that's here joining us in the sanctuary today. And I also want to welcome the people that are joining us online. If you live locally and have a chance to come check us out some Sunday, we welcome you to come in here so we can see your face and meet you and give you a hug if you feel comfortable, a handshake, or a namaste bow. So welcome. So those of you who listened to me talk last week heard me mention the Star Trek socks and how they were packed. I found them. So I wore them. And I know Dwayne will like those because we had a kind of a Star Trek conversation. He's old school Star Trek and these are old school Star Trek socks. So they're not that old, but they're old school socks. So anyway, told y'all I'd wear them, so I did. But I wanted to start off today, I think we need to play a little bit of catch-up because we're in our season of Lent. And that season started on March 2nd, so we need to catch up a little bit, I think. It's already the 20th. But it ends on April 14th, just a few days before Easter, so we still got a little bit of time we can spend in Lent. But here at Unity, we view Lent as a time to break free from our limitations. It's a little bit different if you're used to maybe attending more of a traditional church. We look at it more in a little bit of a metaphysical way here at Unity. And of course, we'll get into Easter and all that on Easter Sunday, but just to give you kind of a little bit of how Unity views Easter or the season of Lent. But today I want to talk about that, but I also want to tie it into some of our current experiences and some of the things that we've all experienced over the past couple of years. Is everybody okay with that? Good, because I don't want to make up another talk on the fly. I might be able to do that, but anyway, I would if I had to. But I think it's safe to say that we're approaching the end of an era, right? We're kind of approaching the end of this time that was known as the pandemic. At least how we knew this time for the past 2 years. And I suppose they're saying it may not actually ever completely go away, but maybe it's safer to say that we're approaching the end of it as how we've known it for the past 2 years. But I wonder, as we approach the end of this time, what was it that we learned? What was it that we perhaps feel like we lost? What do we feel like we gained? Do we feel like we left things behind? Are we regretful of those things that we feel we should have done? And perhaps most importantly is the question of, how are you feeling? Because I know the past 2 years touched all of us in some way or the other. No matter how we felt about it, it still touched us in some way or the other. Whether we stay within the confines of our homes or we ventured out into the public with other people, we've all been touched and changed in some way. We've all been through a time that not all generations have or will experience during their lifetime. Lives were lost. We at times got irritated with other people. We built closer relationships with people. And when all of this is over and even beyond, once we have left our physical forms of this lifetime, impressions of ourselves, our footprints will be left behind. And we all leave behind our footprints in one way or the other, right? Some of us leave footprints in the sand. Some leave our footprints on hard surfaces. Some of us even leave footprints that appear to be invisible, yet they are still there because we all still leave our footprints. And we leave behind more than just the imprint of our feet with our footprints. We leave behind memories. We leave behind feelings and thoughts, ideas. We leave these behind with each print, each leaving behind a small piece of ourselves. Some of our footprints are smeared a little bit, and that's okay. Some are very distinct. Some are small puddles of water, some are dirt, some are sand. But the type of footprint, the shape, the type, that's not really what's important. The important thing to note is this, that the footprints, the imprints we leave behind will always remain. And another thing that's important to remember is that we let go of those things we don't need. Now, I know lots of things seem to be returning to the way life was before the pandemic, which is a good thing, at least for the most part, But are things really returning to the way that they were before? And will they ever? So let me ask a question today. And you don't have to answer audibly or out loud. You can answer this to yourself. But let me ask, are you the same person you were before? And if not, can your life ever really return to exactly the way that it was before? Knowing what you know now and knowing what you've been through. So today I want to talk about how we can begin to let go of the parts that hurt. Even if you found 2020 and 2021 to be times of peace and renewal, there are likely still parts of you that hurt in certain ways. Parts of you that perhaps hurt for the time that was lost with family and friends. It wasn't easy to travel during that time, so maybe you lost time, or you feel like you lost time with those that you love. Parts of you that maybe feel somewhat betrayed by life and what it threw our way. Knowing just how fast sometimes the curveball of life can come at you. Parts of you that maybe think to yourself, I feel really kind of ripped off. That a couple of years of my life was spent in this form of isolation. Or maybe it was something else altogether, only you can know that. But I went through my own feelings during that time. For a while I felt a little bit ripped off that Mindy and I had just moved to a new city. We just moved to Madison, Wisconsin, only to have the church doors closed very shortly after we arrived, due to the pandemic. So let's talk today on how we can start to let go of some of those hurts that we may still be carrying with us. And also to not forget them, because they're shaping who we are and where we need to go from here. But let's don't allow ourselves to forget what it is that we've been through. So we're always going to take memories with us of this time. And we're always going to, but the main thing is to don't let the memories of what we don't want to color the perception of life in a negative manner. So in his book, Letting Go, author and Dr. David R. Hawkins writes, thoughts and feelings about the events tend to occur and color our perception. And we will note that they have disabled us in certain areas of life. At that point, it is wise to ask ourselves if it is worth paying the continuing cost. Now, I'm not going to stand here and try to sugarcoat. Mindy and I often mention the word unitize. Let's unitize it. We're going to unitize it, but we're not. I'm not going to stand here and try to sugarcoat what it is that any of you experienced during the time of the pandemic. I know that people lost loved ones that they weren't even allowed to see during those days. I'm not going to stand here and tell everybody that there's a hidden message of rainbows and unicorns, because I wouldn't necessarily always feel that way, or I wouldn't necessarily feel that way depending on what my own experience was if I lost someone. And as a result, I'm not going to tell you that you also need to do that. But what I do want to encourage today is for you to allow room for those things we experienced that perhaps weren't always so negative, allowing us to experience joy in the present moment, despite what we went through over the past 2 years. So in another chapter, Dr. Hawkins also said this. He said, "It is said that most people spend their lives regretting the past and fearing the future. Therefore are unable to experience joy in the present." So we can't change what happened. We can't go back 2 years before it happened and prevent the pandemic from happening. We can't change any feelings of isolation we may have experienced during that time. We can't necessarily change any feelings of fear or maybe time that was lost with family and friends. We can't change the past, but what we can do is to place it within a different context. Or, as Dr. Hawkins also mentions in his book, to acknowledge the hidden gift in it. Now, I'm not going to say that COVID gave us this wonderful gift that's going to make us jump up and down with joy, right? Those times on Christmas morning when you open up a gift, and lo and behold, it was exactly what you wanted. The thrill that came with that. Maybe you got that new bicycle or that new game, that new skateboard or doll, whatever it was that you wanted. And then you open that one box, that box from, in my instance, it was my grandmother. You opened it up and found that dreaded box of clothes. There you are, 8 years old, and you got a box of clothes. Who wants clothes for Christmas when you're a kid? Everybody take note. Your grandkids and children do not want clothes for Christmas. Okay, anyway, now that we got that out of the way. But I remember opening the box and yelling, clothes, and I'd just kind of toss it aside, and then my mother would, of course, make me go try them on and all that kind of stuff. Anyway. But it didn't make it any less of a gift, right? Even if I didn't like it at the time. So in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl described an approach that he used, an approach called logotherapy. His clinical and personal experience, which demonstrated that emotional events and traumatic occurrences will change considerably and be healed if a new meaning is placed around them. So I'm not sure how many of you in here have read his book or are familiar with it, but he describes his experience of being placed and tortured in Nazi concentration camps. Now, Dr. Frankl says, every life experience, no matter how tragic, contains a hidden lesson. When we discover and acknowledge the hidden gift that is there, a healing takes place. Now, of course, a concentration camp is an extreme example that none of us have ever had to go through, but what if we were to take this down to a much smaller scale? Think about maybe a job that you lost at one point, just suddenly. Maybe it gave you an ulcer and you detested each and every day that you had to sit there, but you continued to stay because maybe you were afraid of change. Suddenly at some point you begin to look back and think about how unhealthy that situation really was for you. Maybe a boss kept your creativity stifled. Maybe you weren't paid your worth. It could have been anything. But then you begin to see that you're now open to all of these new possibilities. New directions to take in your life. Maybe you begin to think about other jobs that will allow and welcome your creativity. Or a manager that's easy to work with and empowers you. One that leaves you feeling empowered when you leave at the end of each and every day. So with that, we can begin to see how life sometimes brings us gifts that might not be wrapped up in pretty packages at the time we open them. But again, it doesn't make them any less gifts. And it doesn't mean that someday you won't pull it down off the shelf and begin to see its true identity. And hopefully you haven't outgrown the clothes by then. But anyway. But we all know by now, we know it doesn't likely happen with just the snap of a finger. We don't ultimately pull the Christmas clothes down off the shelf and prefer them over our favorite toy. It takes time. And it even sometimes takes a shift on how it is that we're looking at things. But first, it's okay to tell ourselves that we're feeling fear of something. Maybe over the past couple of years you were afraid of COVID or, afraid that someone you knew was going to get it, or just afraid of not being able to go out and be around people anymore. Maybe it was fear you didn't want to wear a mask, whatever it was. It's okay to acknowledge that fear. It's okay to allow ourselves to feel that fear. We don't always know how something's going to unfold, do we? We don't all have crystal balls in front of us, that tell us how something's going to unfold or what the ultimate outcome's going to be. But you know what? We don't have to. Because it's okay to not know the outcome. That is where the healing begins to take place. And it's healing because it's release. Now, release doesn't mean that we're not going to feel fear. I doubt there's any one of us in here today or watching online that doesn't feel some kind of fear when it comes to releasing an outcome. Because we don't know how it's going to turn out, right? But what did we do during COVID? What was the only thing we could do? We had to release, right? That was the only thing we could do. Things were unfolding from moment to moment, and the only thing we could do was buckle up our seatbelts and sit back and force ourselves to enjoy the ride. And was it fearful sometimes? Well, yeah, it was. But we've been through it, and here we are right here and right now on the other side of it. Or at least very close to it, depending on how you look at it. But some way, somehow, we successfully navigated this portion of the path in our life. We successfully handled what some saw as a crisis, what maybe some others saw as an opportunity. But regardless as to how we saw it, we successfully navigated it, and here we are sitting here together today. So now it becomes important to focus on what you, all of us, have learned during this time. Maybe you've learned you've got more resiliency than you initially thought you had. Maybe you discovered during some time at home that you're more creative than you thought. Maybe you've now got a closer relationship with family or friends. Either the person that sat there with you in person or maybe some people that sat there with you virtually. Which makes me wish I had bought stock in Zoom, but I did not, so. But maybe you feel like you suffered loss, which only made you feel stronger. Maybe you're still traveling your path. Maybe you came here today still traveling your path. Yet using the courage that you are to face the path that still lies ahead. Navigating it step by step or moment by moment. And in that, finding out and reminding yourself just how strong and courageous you really are. I know for me, I now appreciate things that I took for granted before. During that time, I realized I'd taken for granted just to be able to sit with somebody face to face or to go out and see people. Being able to see people out and about gathering together. Even here in this sanctuary today, I remember back in October, the day that, I first met many of you that are in here today. I remember being here that day and it almost seemed like a reunion of sorts because several of you hadn't seen each other in person in quite some time. And I remember some of the shrieks of joy and hugs that, people were exchanging that day. I remember seeing the joy on your faces as you gave some of those hugs and looked at some of those faces that you hadn't seen in person in quite some time. But the one thing I don't want to ever do is to forget. To forget how I took some of the things that I had taken for granted. I don't want to forget some of the lessons that I learned or what I've come through during the time of the pandemic. So it's important to remember and to not forget. To take that time each day to just stop what you're doing and to celebrate those things that you're grateful for and to remember how strong you are. To acknowledge that we are courage in those moments where we feel anything but courageous. Now, Daniel 10:19 of the Bible reminds us, and he said, O man or woman, greatly loved, fear not, peace be with you, be strong and of good courage. Author Mary Ann Radmacher, I don't know if I'm saying that last name correctly, but she said, courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. So it's important to remember the footprints that we leave behind. To not forget them because those footprints remind us of where we have traveled and of how we got to this moment where we are right now in this present moment. Those footprints that we will make in the future haven't yet happened. They're still to be determined. It's the ones that we're creating right now in this moment that matter the most. We all just have to be willing to make them one step at a time. Namaste.
You have to excuse me for just a moment. I got to collect myself. I'm a little emotional after that. Thank you for allowing us to make space for some of what we lost and also so much of what we gained and what we're going into. I have such appreciation for that. Okay. This is the time in our service where we collect our love offering. And if you are joining us from home, I invite you to continually support the Unity Center of Divine Love and Light as we endeavor to fulfill our mission of touching hearts and transforming lives. And there are several ways that you can share your financial support. If you wish to submit a donation online, simply pull up our website on your browser, and that's www.theunitycenter.org, and click on the donate button at the top of the screen. If you prefer to send your donation by mail, address your envelope to Unity Center at P.O. Box 28127, Spokane, Washington 99228. You know, I am also a Star Trek fan, and I have this weird tendency when I'm reading numbers that I like to do the voice of the next generation computer. So if you guys hear that, just like ignore it. It's just one of those things that happens. Oh, I do not speak Klingon, but I always wanted to, but I barely can speak Pig Latin, so.
Well, I have a science patch. I have a old Star Trek science patch.
I always thought a Star Trek convention would be like the best thing to go to. I just thought that would be great. I have not done that, but we should do that here. We'll have a Star Trek party, like me and you and Dwayne and Bobby will show up. Oh, got one more. Anyway, I'm sorry. I told you this was going to go off the rails today, and here we are. We give because it is in our nature to give. And I thank you for your consideration. Join me in affirming together our love offering statement together. Divine love in, through, and as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
You know, I don't have Star Wars socks, but my wife did me the honor of taking my black socks and making them look like they had stars in it because of the little white pieces of lint. I'm a cosmic kind of guy. Woo! Spirit's calling. Spirit calls. Come up higher. Come on, miss. I just learned this last night. That's the problem we're having. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirits all think I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Loveless high sets us free. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, think I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Loveless us high and sets us free. Sets us free from all lack and limitation. Sets us free. Realize all we can be. We are made in the image and the likeness of God. Spirit calls, so stand up and believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, think I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love us and sets us free. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, think I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love lifts us high, sets us free. Sets us free. No lack and limitation, sets us free. To realize all we can be. We are made in the image and the likeness of God. We call, so stand up and believe. Spirit calls. Spirit calls. Love lifts us high and sets us free. Love lifts us high and sets us free. Love lifts us high and sets us free.
We bless all those who share their gifts with this ministry. We see these offerings going forth to do magnificent things. I also would like to encourage you to leave prayers in our prayer box, or at any time you can leave a message on the church phone with any requests for prayer support. The number is 509-489-6964. Our prayer team is happy to pray with you and for your loved ones. All prayer requests will be prayed on for 30 days by both our prayer team and by Silent Unity. Are there any announcements that I am not aware of? Anybody got anything they need to? Okay, on we go then. I hope you will join us again next week. Evan has already promised he'll be back, and he will be presenting. His talk is a surprise for now, so we'll just wait and see what other fabulous things he has in store for us, and we appreciate that. And now I invite you to stand and sing the peace song with us.
I'm waiting while everybody finds a hand. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Okay. In our closing prayer of protection, as we close our service, we'll offer this prayer of protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Bless you all who are here. Bless all of you who are watching. Have a wonderful day, a great week, and please be here next week. We love you.
Oh, when the saints
Oh, when the saints
come marching in.
come marching in.
Oh, when the saints come marching in. Well, I want to be in that number when the saints come marching in. Oh, when St. Peter
Oh, when St. Peter
is at the gate,
at the gate.
when St. Peter's at the gate, well, I want to be in that number when St. Peter's at the gate. Everybody sing. Oh, when the saints
Oh, when the saints
go marching in.
go marching in.
Oh, when the saints go marching in. Well, I want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints
Oh, when the saints
come marching in.
go marching in.
Oh, when the saints come